Welcome, sadhkas. We are glimpsing Vedic mathematics processing techniques. Today, our focus is to remain as the expectations of the sadhkas of their urge to be parallel with Vedic mathematics as a unified domain of knowledge. The features of Vedic mathematics as a unified domain of knowledge has inherent expectations, and these are about the features of organization of knowledge at work. Our attempt for initiation to be parallel with them naturally is going to be of a prerequisite knowledge of word formulations and of Devnagri alphabet. The index caption here is Om Gang Shri Namha Namha Namha. Further, the prerequisite expectation in the context of such initiation is also of acquaintance with the sthapatya symbols. As such, the Devnagri alphabet, word formulations of Devnagri alphabet, and sthapatya symbols are the prerequisite expectation for attempting initiation with respect to this feature of Vedic mathematics as a unified domain of knowledge. Let us sit comfortably. Let us concentrate upon the Vedic sounds of the word formulations Om, Gang, Shri. Further, let us revisit them as word formulations as an organization for initiation to be parallel with their format. It will be Om, Gang, Shri, Namaha, Namaha, Namaha. This is format of the features that from orb of the sun, 6-space body, there is a flow of 7 streams as 7 space plays the role of dimension of 6 space. And these 7 streams fulfill transcendental boundary of 12 components. One shall sit comfortably. One shall be parallel with these sounds, these word formulations, these flow formats. Sounds, formats, and flow are the features which are at work, and in terms thereof, Vedic mathematics is successful to organize whole domain of knowledge as a single discipline. With this background, let us begin with 6 space as origin of 5 space. So 6 space as origin of 5 space will split 5 space domain into northern hemisphere and southern hemisphere of values 17 and 19. hypercube 5 transcendental domain within creators the space is a fourfold manifestation layer 3, 4, 5, 6 of summation value 18. And this domain splitting as northern hemisphere of value 17 and southern hemisphere of value 19 brings us face to face with as to how the origin itself, which is part of the domain and which is also not part of the domain. It is this dual status which makes this placement feature of 6 spaces origin of values 18 plus 19 equal to 37 within each of the 4 creative dimensions of 6 space. So creators of space as dimension will make this value 37 multiplied by 4 is 148. Let us sit comfortably and let us reach at the transcendental code values for our caption. Om Gang Shri Namha Namha Namha. These will be 16, 13, 20, 32, 32, 32, making a total 145. And the values appear 145 and 148 get coordinated as 4 folds 145, 146, 147, 148. Now, 145 as dimension leads to 148 as an origin. And value 145 is of organization 29 into 5. And value 29 is parallel with the transcendental code value of formulation Brahma, the overlord of the creators of space. And value 29 as dimension leads to value 31 as a domain. Let us have a pause. The values quadruple 145, 146, 147, 148 are the 4 folds of hypercube 147. The value 147 is 7 multiplied by 21. The value 7 multiplied by 21 is of the organization 7 multiplied by 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 plus 6. This is going to be parallel with the dimensional frame of 7 space, and further the quadruple values 145, 146, 147, 148 lead to the summation value 586, which is of organization 555 plus 31. 31 is the domain value reached at by value 29, and value 555 is the value of the Brahma Sutra. The domain 31 is the synthesis value of linear order, transcendence, ranges, pair. So 1 space as dimension and 3 space as domain. As value 31 comes to play its role, we shall sit comfortably and be very gently be through these organization features. Further, we shall have a revisit to the structural organization of transcendental domain of hypercube 5. It is of domain boundary ratio a raised to power 5 into 10 b raised to power 4. The 10 boundary components together require 10 multiplied by 4 as the 40 coordinates. The transcendental domain being of a solid order domain, so its dimensional frame is of value 1 into 3 into 5, 15. Let us have a pause and let us revisit this structural organization of 40 coordinates fixation of the creative boundary, which together with the four folds of transcendental domain 3, 4, 5, 6, 18 makes value 58. And value 58 is 29 plus 29, which is parallel with the transcendental code value of Krishan Duvai Pine, Vyas, author of Brahma Sutra. It's really very blissful, as the 15 as the dimensional frame of transcendental domain as dimension will lead us to hypercube 17, and hypercube 17 will lead us to value 58 plus 8, which is again bringing us face to face with as to the Akash and Atam Tattva. So Atam Akash is going to be the domain of this format of the transcendental domain. Let us again sit comfortably and have a fresh glimpsing of these features of the transcendental domain. Now, let us have a visit to the transcendental domain in the role of an origin of the creator's space, for space itself. And within 4 space, 12-edged cube, 3 space body with freedom of motion because of the 4th dimension will manifest 13th edge, and the same with its coordination with the 3 axes of the dimensional order of 5 space will lead to value 39. And these features at the origin of the creator space for all the 10 creative boundary components of 5 space will lead to value 390. Let us sit comfortably. Let us go to the Lord of the Ganas, Ganesh. Formulation Ganesh is the source of formulation for having comprehension of the Ganas. This formulation is sequentially leading us to values 1, 3, 6, and 20 for the first 4 folds of summation value 30, which is parallel with the transcendental code value of the Chatushpit. The fifth and sixth folds as of values 351 and 140 together lead to value 491, and seventh and eighth folds lead to value 64 and 56 together 120. Ninth and 10th folds lead to value 500, and these together make to value 1411. C. 1411, because of the spatial dimension, will lead to the values which will bring us face to face with the inherent format for the value 2822 as 22 and 28, and 22 is the summation value of hypercube 6, while 28 is the split spectra of content of a 9 space. Let us sit comfortably. Let us permit our mind to be parallel with the existence phenomenon as to how 9 space content is splitting and leading to value 28 parallel with the Brahm, while the format sthapatya is manifesting as hypercube 6, sun, 6 space body, along the format of hypercube 6, having a reach for the Brahm. Blissful, very blissful, very, very blissful. Let us sit comfortably. Let us permit our mind to be parallel with these 10 folds of the formulation Ganesh and have blissful imbibing as to how the Surya, a 6 space body, is coordinated with, is integrated with Brahm. It is this mathematical comprehension, it is this mathematical reach as to how the Brahm and Surya are making the lively format for the existence within solar universe. Let us sit comfortably. Let us permit our mind to be parallel with these features. Let us be blissfully parallel with it. Once we will be parallel with it, and once we will be visualizing as to how this whole feature as 1381 with the each digit with its distinct format. So the numbers as digits of different formats of sequential coordination of sthapatya. It is the base processing technique of Vedic mathematics, which is making it possible for the Vedic mathematics to organize whole range of knowledge parallel with the existence phenomenon of our solar universe as whole features get tamed along the sthapatya miring rod. Sit comfortably and be parallel with this digit by digit sequential progression for number values of 10 place value system parallel with the sequential synthesis of sthapatya miring rod as interval, square, cube, and hypercubes as hypercube 1, hypercube 2, hypercube 3, hypercube 4, as 1 space body, 2 space body, 3 space body, 4 space body. Sit comfortably. Permit the transcending mind to have prolonged sittings. Once one will be in prolonged sittings sessions, one will imbibe these organization features of the Vedic mathematics. Once we will be parallel with these organization format features, then we will be in a position to glimpse further the way the formulation Ganesh is leading us to the inner folds. These inner folds are also 10 folds, and as Varan, it is value 6. As Ank, it is 20. As Sthapatya Bahir, external, is 40. As Madhya, the middle, is 21. As internal Antrik, it is 78. Then Salokya, Samipya, Sarupya, Sayujya are 18, 19, 20, 21. And then Swambhu is 157. Blissful. It is this reach which will make us parallel with the way Vedic mathematics is processing, the way these processing techniques of Vedic mathematics are successfully organizing, are successfully reaching at a processing system parallel with the manifestation and transcendence from the manifested creations of our solar universe. Sit comfortably. Permit the transcending mind to be parallel with these organization formats. Of these, the Antrik, formulation Antrik, leading to hypercube 20 of the 4 folds, the summation value 78 with value 32 as 5 spatial dimensions of frame, making 130, Swambhu 35, and the hypercube 34, 32, 33, 34, 35. See how at the innermost fold there is Swambhu, there is a self-referral. It is this self-referral reach of such manifestations which is the inherent organization. It is the inherent organization which comes straight within the superintendence of the Brahm. How the manifested creations of our solar universe come of their own within the self-referral superintendence of the Brahm is the feature, is the value. And it is the value which will help us appreciate how hypercube 20 with value 78, value 20 as the transcendental code value of Ved, and value 78 as being parallel with the 78 shlokas of the last chapter of Srimad Bhagavad Gita. One shall sit comfortably. One shall permit the mind to remain continuously in prolonged sittings of trance to be parallel with these self-referral features of our existence phenomenon. The formulation Ganesh for its first four folds as 13620 Om iti ekakshar Brahm Om Auma Om 3 Surya 6 Dev 20. This makes the Chaturspit. This Chaturspit, as of transcendental code value 30, is parallel with the transcendental code value of Sahita, Vedic Sahitas, and Swambhu of fifth fold 351 will help us appreciate as to how these Sahitas manifested knowledge because of the self-referral feature as well during transcendence takes us beyond the solar universe domain and everything goes transcendental as a Brahman domain. Let us sit comfortably. Let us permit our transcending mind to be parallel with it. And let us remain continuously in prolonged sittings of trance. Let us permit our transcending mind to absorb these features and values. Let us be parallel with the Vedic systems. Let us be parallel with these organization features of Vedic mathematics. Once we will be parallel with it, then we can sequentially reach at the sthapatya formats for 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th folds of the formulation Ganesh. Once we will be parallel with the sthapatya of the 10 folds of the formulation Ganesh, then we can initiate ourselves with the formulation Sutra 1. The formulation Sutra is of transcendental code value 15, which is parallel with the transcendental code value of formulation Ram, and it is also parallel with the transcendental code value of Swar. Sutraha 28 is Brahm. Sutraha 1 is 29 is a Brahma. And 29 to 44 is the range whose coverage will help us be parallel with how this organization is of value 555. It is really very, very blissful. Sadhkas are fulfilled with intensity of urge to be parallel with Vedic systems shall accept each and every formulation, beginning with this formulation sutra, as mathematically formulated. These are word formulations. These are mathematical formulations. These mathematical formulations are settling the processing steps. Each sutra and every formulation from Sutra 1 to Sutra 16 are preserving mathematical processing techniques. These formulations as mathematical formulations are to be imbibed. Once we will be accepting these formulations as mathematical formulations, we will be on the proper format with proper initiation to be parallel with Vedic mathematics reach, Vedic mathematics attainment, and all that is Vedic mathematics. The formulation Upanishad as of 1913, Dhruv Surya will help us comprehend, will help us appreciate, will help us enlighten ourselves, will help us dissolve our different mental states, will help us to be in a mental state to be parallel with the Vedic processing techniques. Like that, all other formulations as well are to be approached. Now the formulation Ganita Sutra leads to value 33. See, Ganit is of transcendental code value 18. Sutra is of transcendental code value 15. And the values range 1 to 18 leads to 33 factors. See how the factors of the numbers are formatting the internal artifices organization. This is what is to be learned. This is what is to be imbibed. This is what is the expectation for being parallel with it. Each formulation, each and every formulation is a mathematical formulation. Now, Vedic Ganit 15.8 to 25, Ganit 495.18. See, the value 18 is the summation value of 3, 4, 5, 6 hypercube 5. And the transcendence range, which extends, goes to value 7, makes it 25. See, Vedic Ganit formulation is very well indicating as that fourfold manifestations as of hypercube 5 are to be transcended, and the transcendence would mean to acquire the fifth fold as well. It is here where is the structural key. Vedic mathematics is the mathematics of transcendence from the manifested creations. Therefore, Vedic Ganit Sutra will lead us to value 58, parallel with 29 plus 29, parallel with the transcendental code value of Krishna Dvapayan, Vyas, author of Brahma Sutra. So Vedic Ganita Sutra are leading us to the reach of Brahma Sutra. Let us sit comfortably. Let us permit our mind to be parallel with these mathematical formulations. Once we will be parallel with these mathematical formulations, we will be automatically parallel with Vedic systems, Vedic knowledge, Vedic processing techniques. Let us visit the formulation Eka Adhikain Purvain, text of Ganita Sutra 1. The first letter, it is Shashtam Swar, a sixth vowel. Transcendental code value for Shashtam Swar is 42, 27 plus 15. So 6 plus 42 is 48. It is parallel with the transcendental code value for the dimensional frame of 6 space of hypercube 6. C. Shashtam Swar 42 as dimension leads to 44 Paramvijom and 48 leads to 50. C. It is going to be 42 vowels and consonants together with 8 yamas. So entire Devnagri alphabet letters setup is within the reach of the Eka Adhikain Purvain. Let us sit comfortably. Devnagari alphabet takes us to Ganita Sutras, and Ganita Sutras take us to Devnagari. So it is the self-referral system. It is this feature which will help us appreciate as to how, beginning with Devnagari, we reach at the Ganita Sutras, and beginning with the Ganita Sutras, we will reach at Devnagari. Sit comfortably and approach Sutras 1 to 16 as per the sthapatya. 1 as one space as dimension will lead us to 3 space. So Sutra 1 is of sthapatya 31. Sutra 2, naturally 2 spaces dimension will lead us to 4 spaces domain 42. Sutra 3 to 53, Sutra 4 to 64, Sutra 5 to 75, Sutra 6 to 86, Sutra 7 to 97, Sutra 8 to 110, Sutra 9 to 119. This is Eka Adhikain. Now, the punctuation. Purvain. See, here the value will be 130. 10 leads to 12, but the value is 13 and 0. So there is a change. That is why the 10th Sutra, Yavdunam, is a scripture of only 9 letters. Sutra 10, number of letters are 9. Deficiency is 1. Here the value is 130, but the reach is 10 space to 12. It is this feature which will further help us appreciate as to how each and every organization feature of the text of Ganita Sutra is mathematically tailored. And this mathematical tailoring of the organization of the sutras is as per the sthapatya. And sthapatya is as per the manifestation of a jyoti. And this manifestation of a jyoti is as per the superintendence and control of the Brahm. Everything here is universally settled. See, 16th Sutra will lead us to value 196. And 196 is one more than 195. And Yog Darshan is a scripture of 195 sutras. Blissful, really blissful, very, very blissful. Each and every scripture is coordinated as per the values and processing steps of Ganita Sutras. Ganita Sutras, mathematics is the universal mathematics. This is the universal foundational base for the entire range of scriptures of Vedic family. Sit comfortably. Permit the transcending mind to be parallel with these. Now, let us visit these sutras letters wise. Sutra 1 is a scripture of 16 letters, and value 16 is parallel with the dimensional frame of 4 space. Quadruple spatial dimensions constitute the dimensional frame of a 4 space. Sutra 2 is a scripture of 28 letters. It is D9, 9 space content, fulfilling solar universe 6 space for its manifestation. Sutra 3 is of 15 letters scripture. It is parallel with the dimensional frame of a 5 space. Sutra 4 is of 17 letters composition, which is parallel with this northern hemisphere. Value of the number of letters for the 5th sutra are 20, and of the 6th are 19. One shall sit comfortably and be parallel with the way 5 space domain hypercube 5 at the origin seat splits within creator's space because of the spatial dimension as a northern hemisphere of value 17 and southern hemisphere of value 19. It is really very, very blissful organization format. Let us proceed sequentially with Sutra 8 of 16 letters, 9 of 16 letters, and then when we will go on approaching this happening within creator's space as phenomenon of transcendence. This transcendence within creator's space will very successfully bring us face to face with as to how the split of a transcendental domain into a pair of hemispheres ultimately become full domains, full transcendental domains. So northern hemisphere and southern hemisphere will become full transcendental spaces phenomenon, each being complete in itself. Sit comfortably. One is to be sequentially through these 16 steps. These sittings shall be prolonged one. There are very large number of features which come into play for sequential transition from a given sutra to the next sutra. These letters of these sutras are manifesting one sequential flow. The other flow features of these organizations are in the form of their syllables, their words, their transcendental code values, their coordination of bridging of the gaps by Upsutras. Let us come back to Sutra 1. Now let us visit it syllables wise and see how these syllables are of values 6, 6, 9, 10, 9, 11, 15, and 8. And then let us see how these values in sequential progression are 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, 15, and see how 8, 9, 10, 11 is hypercube 10, 6 is hypercube 2, and 15 is hypercube 4 of half unit. This all has its own organization flow which deserves to be comprehended. One should sit comfortably and imbibe this flow features. The transcendental code values of the formulation Ekadikain will help us reach at 642724689, and this will lead us to the manifestation curve as is on the computer screen. I am not elaborating these sequential progression coordination steps as it will require a very, very long session. However, it will be a very blissful for each one of us to be through these progressions. These progressions, when will be viewed as 6 plus 4 plus 2, 12, parallel with the transcendental code value of Rishi, 6, 4, 2, 7, 19, parallel with the transcendental code value of Chand, and Devata, if we begin from the other end, 1, 8, 6, 15, parallel with the transcendental code value of Swara, then it will be very blissful to appreciate as to how this organization of the transcendental code values of very first formulation of the very first sutra, Ekadikain, is going to be parallel with the organization format of Rigved Samhita. It is really blissful. It is very blissful. And this, when is taken, that the total transcendental code value for Ekadikain is 40, and total transcendental code value for Purvan is 35, and 40 is parallel with the coordinates of the creative boundary of 10 components, and 35 is parallel with 5 cross 7 grid. then it will further help us appreciate the features and likewise the organization features of the formulation Purven. Now the value 75 is parallel with the 75 structural components of synthesis of the 4 cubes, 27, 18, 18 and 12. These features with 37 as hypercube 37 of 75 versions. Like this, the coordination takes us ahead, and this coordination, if it is to be taken sequentially, then the coordination of 5 cross 7 grid for double-digit numbers of 6-place value system with 24 double-digit numbers being parallel with the 24 as the value of the dimensional frame of 6-space, and further same also being parallel with the transcendental code of Purush and also of the mantra. It will help us appreciate as to how the Vedic mathematics as stands organized as Ganita Sutras is of universal unfolding. It is this universal unfolding which has become possible because Ka Brahma gives value 4, Ka Shiv gives value 5, Ka Vishnu gives us value 6, and tissually Ka as 1. All these quadruple folds as 16 makes 16 sutras, makes 16 letters of the very first sutra, makes 16 kalas. Shodash Kala Sampurna. And it is in this background, then if we proceed to approach this text in terms of Vedic code values, then the first sutra is of value 23. Gayatri is a text of 23 aksharas. This is the feature which is being indicated and is being pointed at this phase and stage, just to bring to focus that the Vedic mathematics of Ganita Sutras is universal. And it is this universal feature which deserves to be taken up step by step. As for Ekadike, as VCV, it will be 191 for Ka, Dha and Ka, and it will be 165 for Pa, Va and Ana, and these 11, this 12 total as a 30, 75 as a transcendental code value, 23 as the Vedic code value, makes value 98, which takes to the exhaustive coverage up till 100. Now, 100 with 23 as the Vedic code value takes us to the balance 77 as the transcendental code value of devnagri. Blissful, very blissful. It is the coordination. It is this organization feature which will further help us appreciate, to intensify our conviction as the mathematical domain of Vedic Ganita Sutras is universal. And for it, let us revisit formulation Anand for its TC value 23, for a VC value 6. Let us further revisit the formulation Shahist for its TC value 23 and its VCV value 28. It is here where we can well appreciate as to how VCV 6 for Anand is parallel with Surya, and VCV 28 for Shahist is parallel with Brahm. Surya to Brahm. First perfect number to second perfect number This is the internal bliss of the mathematical domain of Ganita Sutras. So Ganita Sutras are not restricting themselves only up till the solar universe. They are taking us to Brahman, eternity, the Brahman domain. Beautiful, blissful, very, very blissful. Let us sit comfortably and let us be parallel with these features of Vedic mathematics as a unified domain of knowledge. Respected sadhkas, today our focus has remained upon the features of Vedic mathematics as a unified domain of knowledge. The inherent features of organization of knowledge at work are being attempted for initiation to be parallel with them. Naturally, here there is going to be a prerequisite knowledge of word formulations of devnagri alphabet. The index caption is going to be Om, Gang, Shri, Namha Namha Namha. And the prerequisite expectation is also about the acquaintance with the sthapatya symbols. These prerequisites, together with the intensity, will take us parallel with the Vedic mathematics processing techniques, success to be universal. Thank you very much.